welcome to the next video of my LCK preview series. We're covering Gen.G. Going into this season, by tiebreaker, I have them first because they have 3 players ranked first in their roles. The last 3 years, Gen.G has been in the finals of LCK Summer, and in terms of championship points, they were first, and this past year second. I guess they could have been first as well, depending on how much. I guess you get the automatic qualifier if you win Summer, so HLE, of course, had like 70 or something championship points from Spring, but it's, between those two. So this squad, on paper, is going to be competitive until the end. One of those teams that's going to be in World's contention, all dependent on how Duro develops down in the support role. So in top lane, we have Kiin. Kiin is first in his role. He had a great season, massive champion pool, something that we've talked about for years. Kiin is a really damn good top laner. And last year he was performing like a top 5 top laner, but even this year was even better. 4 KDA, 60.1 KP, 8 CS per minute, 60 KP. Gen.G played a slower style of play last year that incorporated the whole team in the team fights. We saw that Pays had led the team in KP, and now Pays is gone and Ruler is back. 0.4 share differential, 1.36 ROI, dealt a good amount of damage and was on the positive side of things. Up 275 gold at 15 minutes, 2.79 vision efficiency, and 31 champions in 135 games. He's 25 years old. Kesante, Udyr, and Rumble, 43% of his champion usage. Hanbiol. Okay, Hanbiol, or however this is, I'm butchering that. Kid's going to play in Challengers. 1.7 KDA, 56.1 KP, 7.4 CS per minute in Academy. That's not great, but the 1.93 ROI is pretty insane. I don't know what this Gen.G Academy team was doing, but they definitely dealt a ton of damage. 15 champions in 50 games. In the jungle role, we have Canyon. One of the best of all time. Now that Owner has won again, I have to put Owner in that conversation with Canyon and Score, etc. as all-time best junglers. Bangy and you could go down a list of world champions, etc. But in terms of like present day, Canyon's, Kanavi, Owner are all kind of in that conversation. But Canyon statistically is still first. He had a great KDA, 5.7, active with a 73.3 KP, and a 6.2 CS per minute. So didn't die much, yet still involved in 3 out of every 4 kills and found farm. Pretty damn good. Down 3.4 share differential, 1.11 ROI, up 70 gold. You'd like that to be more, especially the vision efficiency, only 3.38 vision score per ward placed. Canyon and the macro game are really not conjoined. We talked about it with the D Plus video. Canyon is a player that is not a shot caller, which in the end, that's going to mean that Duro's going to have to do some serious work for this team, and that's going to be interesting. 21 champions in 135 games, 23 years old, Sejuani Maokai in Italy are his 3 most played for 42% of his games. Second is the player for Challengers is Wet, otherwise used to be known as Winner. Didn't play last year. Aid will be on the Academy team, had a 1.8 KDA, only a 59 KP as a jungler is rough. Obviously, with all the damage everywhere, I think this team just had like a clown fiesta every game. I don't know. 5.8 CS per minute, 0.9 ROI, 16 champions, 50 games. Mid lane is Chovy. Second best mid laner in the world right now. I do think Knight is better after Worlds because Knight utilized a wide champion pool. And that's kind of been the tiebreaker between them back and forth the last couple of years for me, is like who is actually willing to play more champions, who's willing to offer more, because in terms of hands, the players are very similar in skill. Now, both have an MSI title. So, Chovy, 6.1 KDA, 67.5 KP, 10.1 CS per minute. Now, because Knight is in the LPL, Chovy is first in his role. High resource. We're not going to find somebody with more than 10 CS really anywhere in the world. 2 out of every 3 kills. Doesn't die. Is pretty damn good statistically. 5.8 share differential, 1.68 ROI, up 340 gold at 15 minutes, so every game he went even. There's a game he's up 680, and there aren't many games that people can go even with Chovy. 3.45 vision efficiency, efficient with his vision, actually more efficient than even Canyon. 21 champions in 135 games, 23 years old. Corky Azir Tristana, 53% of his games played, which is why I said the champion pool part. He played 21 champions, but more often than not, it was one of these three. Where some players, it's 35%. And you're like, oh, well, I mean, those are his three most played. He might play one of those in this series, but what's he going to play in the other two games in a BO3? With Chovy, it's a little more predictable. Kamish, 4.4 KDA, 66.7 KP, 7.8 CS per minute, over 2 damage per gold, which is like the highest I've ever seen in a 11-game sample. 9 champions in 11 games. Demi, 2.5, 71.1, 9 CS, 1.77. ROI, 4 champions, 7 games. I mean, they have combined 18 games in their, prospect pool mid. I mean, in the end, it's one of those things, and it was kind of why I gave D+ so much credit over the years. It was because, hey, to be a world's contending team and still get good prospects is really hard, because prospects probably look at your team like, hey, yeah, am I really going to, is there like a path to the LCK on this team? You know, is there a path to mid lane on Gen.G? I'd say no. T1, is there a path to mid lane on T1 until Faker retires? No. So it's one of those things like, yeah, well, there's no point. Might as well go somewhere else. Ruler rejoins the team. 6th in his role. He had a really rough year with JDG last year by his standards. But is he the 6th best AD carry in the LCK? Absolutely not. He is probably, I mean, it's probably Viper, Ruler, aiming, Guma, some, you put Guma 3rd, aiming 4th, depending on, if you want to be a fanboy and use intangibles or something. But statistically, aiming was superior last year. But the deal is here, Ruler is better than 6. So it's kind of one of those things that this team is even better than, like, they're first by tiebreaker, but they're first overall. 5.1 KDA, 65 2 KP, 9.9 CS per minute. So not overly involved in JDG's success. Less than 2 out of every 3 kills. 3.6 share differential. So if we do the math on that, 9.4, 9.8. This team lacks carry threat, which is pretty crazy to think about. Negative 0.3 in the share differential. So somebody's going to have to do more with their gold this year for the team than they did for their team last year. Ruler is going to have to be that guy. 1.47 ROI is representative of that. That's not great for a guy that supposedly is one of the best in the world. And hell, he's the oldest player on the team. He's 26. So is that factoring into this? 275 gold ahead. When we do the math there, this team is gapping their opponents 550, 890, 920, no, 960, 925 gold roughly, just really rough there. So if they're up 1,000 gold on average, that's a big deal. That just goes to show you how good this team is mechanically. 3.21 vision efficiency, 15 champions in 113 games. Varus Zeri Lucian, 38% of his champion pool, widest champion usage last season. About is the backup. About joins from Ultra Prime last year. He was in the LPL as an import. 2.6 KDA, 71.4 KP in LDL. 9.1 CS per minute, 1.69 ROI, 13 champions in 46 games. Ladle will be on the academy team. 2.2 KDA, 65.5 KP, 8.9 CS per minute. 1.53 ROI, 13 champions, 32 games. About's a good get because evidently he must do well in solo queue, because usually you got to be really, really freaking good in solo queue. Not only to get a look, but for an LPL team to even want to try and import you. So because Ultra Prime did that, I would make a mental note of that. Support is Duro. Statistically, he ranks 9th. Now, this stat line is 53 games LCK, 47 games Challenger. So keep that in mind. But when we look at the 53 games, which this is the 100 games, the 53 games of LCK on Fear X, he ranked 9th out of 10. Technically ranked last because Wei is 10th just by default because he has no stats from last year. So Duro had a 2.9 KDA and a 76 KP in FearX's system last year. So very active and involved in his team successes. We saw Diable had like a 70 KP. So in part they're fighting around the bot side of the rift, which made sense because Diable is so good. But also Duro did well in the LCK as well. I thought he did pretty damn good. I'm 22 years old, so not the youngest rookie we see. I mean, hell, we had a couple 17-year-olds this year, so put that in perspective. Got a 17-year-old rookie and a 22-year-old rookie, joining the LCK at the same time. Negative 6.7 share differential, 0.72 ROI, so more traditional as a support. Negative 35 gold, 1.91 vision efficiency, 22 champions in 100 games, 22 years old. Rakan, Nautilus, Alistar, 45% of his games played. Behind him is Namgung. 1.48 KDA, 64.5 KP. So not all that dominant in Academy or CK. I'll say their CK team is not what it used to be when it had Zest and Quid on it. Negative 4.9 share differential, 0.89 ROI, so more aggressive. Negative 365 gold, so laning is a struggle. 1.84 ROI, 17 champions, 65 games. Sirius is also listed on the Challenger roster. Had a 1.8 KDA, 70 KP. Played only 7 games, 0.81 ROI, 5 champions played. He'll probably drop back down to Academy. Coach is Kim. Kim returns to the team after being with them last year. In regular season between the LCK, LPL, and North America, he is 183 and 84 for a 69% win rate. Playoffs and regional finals, he's 48 and 39 for a 55% win rate. And then internationally, he's a world champion as well as an MSI champion. He's 53 and 22 for a 71% win rate. This team's capable of winning it all. We'll see if push comes to shove. I think a lot of people just by default will say BLG will win, but BLG is the only top team that hasn't won the last couple of years. Hasn't won anything, right? Knights won, but the team in general has a lot of second place finishes. So that's kind of the deal there. They got to get over the hump. They've had different coaches. They've had different iterations. We'll see what happens. But Gen.G showed at MSI last year they could do it. So, very good team. Arguably, if Ruler returns to form, they have 4 players best in their role in the world. So, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.